Welcome to the Rachel and Cassandra Show. Before we begin, our disclaimer. Rachel and Cassandra both live and work in Michigan. They are only licensed in their respective fields.
Hey girl, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. It's
been a
nice
long
to see
time.
you. Yeah, like 4 minutes.
So what are we talking about today, Cassandra?
Oh, we're talking about the 10 commandments of buying a home.
What are that? What does that mean?
Well, this is from a lender's standpoint. So you probably have your own 10 commandments, but these are my 10 commandments, like what not to do when you're in the middle of buying a home.
Okay, like what?
Oh my God, you're giving me so much to work with. Okay, number 1, thou shalt not change jobs, become self-employed, or quit your job.
Why not?
As one of the largest determining factors is stability of income and likelihood of continuance.
What?
That
Okay,
means
that
the
sounded
income
like a foreign language.
The income that is being used and that you told us about needs to be steady, right? And likely to continue.
So why, if I get a different job, what's the problem?
Well, it's not always a problem, but sometimes it's a problem. And usually it's a problem because the income is different or you're paid differently. If you currently have a salary and you're going to a different position that's really similar, and that's the salaried position too, that's fine. But what happens most of all is people quit their job or get a new job with commission or an hourly pay, which is more, but they're not working 40 hours, right? So something along those lines, or they decide, I'm going to become self-employed. I've been doing this for 5 years, but I'm going to stop getting a paycheck and W-2, and I'm going to go out on my own and become self-employed. And all of those things are variable. Most of them require a 2-year history, with exception of a salaried person that works 40 hours. That's literally the only time it's usually okay, is where you're like, I am salary and work 40 hours, and I am moving to salary and work 40 hours or 80 hours or whatever. It doesn't matter hours of salary, but.
Okay, so if I'm in the middle of buying a home and I get offered a job somewhere else, how do I decide if I should take that new job? Like, what should I do?
Call your loan originator, call the me equivalent and ask.
Okay. So 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
What's number 2?
Don't buy a car or a truck or a van. And then the side joke is, or you might be living in it.
Why not? I have a car. I'm just going to go buy a new car. What's the big deal?
Because it's new debt, new obligation, more documentation, a new monthly payment. And as we know, your income relative to your debt determines how much house you can afford. So if you go buy a new $70,000 truck with an $800 payment, it might mean that you can't buy a house.
Got it. So I should wait until I close on the house and go right to the dealership and buy a new car that day.
Sure.
Got it.
That's totally fine.
So 1, no new job or no job change. No cars.
If you must get a car and your beater is breaking down and it's just must happen, just call the equivalent of me and make sure it's okay that you can afford a new monthly payment, or what should it be, that kind of thing.
Okay. So you can tell me how much car payment I can afford and still buy my house.
Fuck yeah.
All right.
That's math, baby. That's easy.
What's number 3? Do I have to keep asking you about every single number?
I don't know. You're
how
not
this
putting
goes?
much in. So at this point, I feel like they're all being introduced. You're like, okay.
Well,
okay.
This is your list, not mine. So
okay,
I'm just.
You've seen the list. Like you've
I have.
seen this, right?
Okay. I have. Yes.
All right. Number 3.
In fact, bring it up.
Not use...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it up while
there.
she's talking so people can see it.
Okay. Number
Scooch
3,
it over.
don't use
Perfect.
credit cards excessively, and don't pay late, which means don't go max out your shit and pay your stuff on time through the whole home buying process, which is usually 30 days. So for God's sakes, I hope that you could, pay your bills on time and not max out your cards. And number 4, don't spend money that is set aside for closing. Okay? Money, paperwork trails are the bane of my existence. And I mean that in the nicest way. I will bring you to tears with the amount of paperwork that is required if you spend money and then put it back in and you pull it out of your safe. And it might mean that you can't buy a house if it's cash money.
What does that
or
mean?
drug money.
You just said spend money, put it back in, and pull it out of your safe. What?
I get a lot of people who say you have a big expense coming and you write a check for $5,000 out of your bank account. And then there's magically a $5,000 deposit that can't be sourced. And that money came from your safe in your house with cash, right?
Yes.
I can't use that $5,000 you just put in cash.
So I should use my safe money to buy the extra bullshit and keep my closing money in my bank account.
Yes. Oftentimes I meet a lot of people who have cash set aside to buy a house, like literally cash. And that's like a rule people set in their minds. Rachel, you understand about rules that people set in their minds, and this money is allocated towards that. So what they don't love to hear is that it's not usable. And then I tell them they need to go spend the cash on rent and car payments and get money orders and spend that cash so that their paychecks, which go into their checking account, can grow. They loathe it. I think they almost throw up in their mouth a little bit.
Okay.
So just don't move money and spend your money.
So I have a question about number 5. Thou shalt not omit debt or liability from your loan application. You're going to find it anyway.
We always find it. Yeah. I've had people say, I do not owe child support. And guess what's on their pay stub? Right? A tiny little state of Michigan child support withdrawal, or credit report shows child support that's due. I mean, they find everything. They run an extra fraud guard. They find out if you own a house or you're even on title to a house from 8 years ago that your ex got in a divorce. We find everything. So just tell us the truth, because then we can actually figure out a solution and not find it in the middle of the process.
Well, how soon would you find out? I don't understand. Like, what if I forgot? Big deal. You're going to find it anyway.
I'm going to find it. However, sometimes it's found by the underwriter with their super extra fraud guard report, which only happens when you're under contract to a house. So I find stuff on the credit report, and then you go shop and say it takes you a month or something to find a house. And then I submit the whole file to the underwriter. And then the underwriter runs her fancy next level badass report and finds the shit. So tell me so that I can try to work around before the underwriter finds it, because we're going to find it.
So no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what did Mark used to say? Mark says that you are the attorney and the underwriter is like the judge. Does that feel right? I should ask him. He has a really great analogy for this.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
If you're the attorney and you go in,
I am my client's advocate, and I need to convince the judge underwriter that this is the good file and that they should win the money for the house.
So next one, number 6.
Thou shalt not buy furniture on credit. Can't tell you how many people are rip-raring to go out and finance furniture and appliances before they even have keys to a house, which is similar to a car. It's a new line of credit. It's a new line of credit that needs to be documented with the first statement. And I will tell you, I will not give names. I literally just had a borrower who we are under contract, and the underwriter pulls it's called a soft pull, just to see if there's new trade lines between the time of application and right before closing. And up pops a new credit card, and we need a statement, and we can't get a statement yet because the account's like 4 days old.
I almost want to say who the client was because I happen to know.
I know you know, but it doesn't matter. So ultimately, after, 10, 12 days of trying to get a statement, a document, something via fax, she couldn't log on online because she hadn't gotten the card in the mail yet. I mean, it was brutal. I called my credit provider. I gave them her name, her date of birth, her phone number, her social security card, and said, she has an account with this company. I need you to add it to the report. And I don't have a shred of fucking piece of paper to document that what I'm saying is true. Can you please try? And they were able to do it, which was outstanding because usually a piece of paper is required. But this is what happens. Closings are delayed. People get brought to tears over things like this.
You get DQ'd from buying a house over things like this.
Yes, because you have to put up or shut up. You have to show the document. You have to, still qualify with that new payment, right?
Yeah.
That new trade line, the new car payment, the new $25 minimum payment for your dishwasher, whatever that you want for your new house. So just wait.
So for furniture, just like your new car, close on your house first and then go buy the furniture. Or buy it with the money from the safe.
Yep. Buy it with the safe money. That's a good safe money purchase. Go turn it into a cashier's check or whatever.
So I don't understand the next one.
Thou shalt not originate any inquiries on your credit. This one seems fear-mongery. So originate means to, you know what originate means to, yes? To have any, to begin
start.
new, to start any inquiries on your credit. So every time I go to TJ Maxx, those mofos say, would you like to open a TJ Maxx card today? You could save blah, 10% or whatever. And every time I go, no, thank you. If I'm out shopping for a house and I say yes to something like that, or if I go, oh, I'd love that PayPal credit card, thank you so much. Or yes, Amazon, I would like your credit card. I need a new Apple phone and I am.
What about Kohl's? Kohl's will give me 30% off on the spot of my already heavily discounted purchase.
So this one I feel like is fear-mongery, and I can go into why, because it's just deceptive on the part of people who do my job. It's okay to have inquiries on your credit, okay? Your credit score will not take you could inquire, you could go out every single day. The credit score I have for you is the score I have for you, and it's good for 120 days, right? The problem with going to get inquiries on your credit report is that every time you do your score, unless it's a mortgage inquiry, and there's set rules about that, your score goes down a little bit, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, right? And if you are seeking credit hard, and I can spot a credit seeker almost instantly. I can see
what does that mean?
Okay, so on a credit report, there's a spot called inquiries, and it's every inquiry, every hard inquiry, like I want a line of credit. That's a hard inquiry. It's every hard inquiry for the last 120 days. So in the last 4 months, if I saw you were looking for a car, usually I see multiple cars. That's okay. But sometimes the dealership you'll do one inquiry at the dealership and they'll farm you out to 21 different places. That's the most I've ever seen for one person. One inquiry equaled 21 inquiries. But what I often see is somebody who's asking for PayPal, asking for Amazon, asking for Victoria's Secret, asking for every fucking, it's like an 18-year-old who just realized they could get a card and they just like try to sign up for everything. It really hurts your score. It makes you seem desperate. And lenders are like, I don't know what you're going through. You seem really desperate trying to buy a car and a house and open 6 credit cards and still pay all these. And you have no proof that you can juggle all of that. It's like a kid getting their license and being like, I'm driving to California. And you're like, you can barely drive around the block. You're really biting off a lot. So I think that's why it said you shouldn't originate, because it does lead to more paperwork. But if you're shopping for a mortgage, that's okay, because that's viewed as one inquiry and you're supposed to do that.
What do you mean? Say that last bit again. If you're shopping for a mortgage, that's okay. Like if I call you and you run my credit, and then I call, I don't want to name
Greenstone.
Greenstone. Sure.
Yeah. Or your credit, or MSUFCU or something like that. The CFPB has rules around a mortgage because they really want you to shop for a mortgage. They like highly recommend that you call a few places. So your mortgage inquiry, any mortgage inquiries made within 30 days, 45 days, I can't remember, is viewed as one inquiry. So your points don't take a hit. I still have to explain them all, or help you explain them with a letter of explanation that they were all mortgage inquiries. And it usually says mortgage. Cars usually say car, or auto or something. But anyway, that's what it is. So mortgage inquiries are okay, and they're desirable. You're not penalized in the same way as long as they're done within like a 30-day span.
Okay. It allows me to price shop you, or
Yes.
product shop
Thank
you, or
you.
service shop you, or whatever.
Way better words. Yes.
Last but not least.
Oh, no, we're on 8.
Are we? I thought we were at originating.
No, we're on 8. Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Number 7.
Nope, my image was zoomed in so I could read it.
Oh.
And I see there is more. There's more
Okay.
on my screen. Go ahead.
But wait, there's more. Okay. So
Always.
number 8 is thou shalt not make large deposits without checking with your loan officer. So this is the whole
safe money.
Untraceable cash. So blame 9/11. Every cash deposit is flagged, and you have to trace it, track it, document it, prove that it is usable in the transaction. And cash is garbage, basically. I mean, that's kind of how it's viewed. But talk to your loan originator, because we had this. There are instances where you can deposit cash. In a conventional loan, you can deposit up to 50% of your normal monthly income in cash without even having to explain it. So if you make $5,000 a month before taxes, you can literally drive to your bank and put in $2,500 in cash. I would do $2,499 just to stay within. I don't need an explanation, but the rules are different for FHA or rural development or VA. But cash is heartbreaking.
So how do you determine my regular monthly pay? And I'm asking for me specifically because there are months where I make $0, and then there are months where I make an insane amount of dollars.
So realtors are a little tricky and a little different, right? People who are self-employed, not realtors. People
or
who are
commission only.
Yes, people who are self-employed are different. So if there are multiple deposits not into your business bank account,
of course,
right?
But if I average, let's use real numbers. If I average $50,000 a year, do you just use that and divide that by month, make that my monthly amount, average it out over a year, and then I can deposit whatever back my way into that number is what I'm saying.
Generally, yes. I did a mortgage for a realtor. We closed in December, and he had, 8 large deposits because he didn't deposit into his business account. He was depositing them into his personal account. So I actually just had his broker, go, it was for this, and itemize the homes that had sold and basically send me his income. But generally speaking, yes, we take your annual income, divide it by 12, and then figure out how much you can deposit before you have to start explaining and documenting shit. I have a guy right now who's got a $1,886 deposit, which is almost his entire monthly income, if not his entire monthly income. And I'm like, what's that? It's not a pay stub, right? It's not I can tell when it's an employer. And he was like, oh, I sold the car. And I'm like, I wish you would have told me. I need proof that you sold the car. Usually I need a Kelley Blue Book to validate the value that was paid for the car. I need the title to show that you owned the car that you're telling me you sold. Sometimes I need the listing showing that it was like.
Yeah. And for a different borrower, that $1,800 deposit would be a non-problem for someone who makes $10,000 a month.
Yeah, it's not even blinked at. So which is hard because the rules are applied equitably, but I think some people might feel like they're getting picked on, but they're not.
This is how people get confused. They say, I talked to my neighbor and my neighbor got this deal and didn't have a problem when they did the exact same thing I did. Well, your neighbor is not you. They have a different circumstance that they bring to the table with them.
Totally. And it depends, right?
Always.
Yeah.
8.
Oh, number 9 is thou shalt not change bank accounts. So I just had this.
Oh,
matter of fact,
dang, what am I looking at here?
You know this client. This closed on Monday. I had a client who moved from out of state. He had bank accounts there. He got a gift and took the gift check and went to the near bank in the new state that he moved to and opened a brand new bank account.
I know this client.
Oh, yes. There was a power of attorney involved.
Oh, yep. I know what you're talking about.
Yep. There were multiple difficulties. I'm surprised they weren't brought to tears by the amount of insane documentation. But it's just because they literally did all the things and didn't tell me they were doing any of the things, which means I have to reverse document, and it's brutal. But anyway, so don't change your bank account if you can help it, because then we have to prove that you have the day you opened your new bank account. If you transferred all the money from your old bank account, we have to show that account is we have to see that transfer. You know how hard it is sometimes to get a statement from a closed bank account without driving to the bank? It's hard sometimes. I have another client with, I'm not kidding you, 14 bank accounts. I don't want all of them. Why do you have $200 in 10 accounts each?
So do you have to document all, how many accounts did you say they had? 14?
14. Oh, and then one of the accounts that I have a statement from actually has 6 sub-accounts.
Do you have to document all the bank accounts that the borrower has, or only if they need to count the money in those accounts?
It depends. So my general MO is I just want the account that I need money from. If you've got enough money in the transaction in one account, that's the only one I want. But what most people do that's so rare, it's like a unicorn. What most people do is they freely transfer money in and out of accounts in the savings and the checking, and then cross from bank A to bank B to bank C. And so I'm seeing one statement has 18 transfers across 8 accounts. And then I have to go document the 8 accounts, which opens up a can of worms for what those accounts transferred to.
So if I have a Lake Trust account and I move money from Lake Trust, into MSU Federal Credit Union, and you see that transfer every other week, I put $500 from my checking at Lake Trust into MSU FCU. I apply for a mortgage with you. I give you my Lake Trust statement. You're telling me because you can see the transfer into this other account, that informs you that this other account exists, and now you must see the statement for that account as well. Is that accurate?
Sometimes.
It depends.
Yes. Rural
On
development,
what?
absolutely.
Depends on my loan type.
Rural development requires you to disclose all assets that you have. If the amount that you're transferring is too large, right, relative to that formula based on your income, you may have to provide it. Or I might be able to just write a letter of explanation, omit your statement, and write a letter saying what those are. Or I might be able to back out the money if you do $500 every week, and I can still close, backing out the $2,000 or whatever.
Backing out meaning I don't need it to qualify.
Yeah. Like if your balance is 10,000 and you've added $2,000 out of this one account and haven't sourced it or haven't given me any info on that, then if I don't need that $2,000 you deposited, then I can still close. So it depends. Bank accounts are pretty brutal.
I don't want to say numbers because I fucked up the last one.
Number 10, this is the last one. This is easy. Don't co-sign for anybody. It's similar to you're opening a new line of credit. So don't co-sign even if you're not responsible for it. And I would suggest, unless it's your fucking child, don't co-sign for anybody, period.
Even if it is your fucking child.
Uh-huh. That's the most abused co-signer. When you co-sign, you are, even if you're like, I'm co-signing so my kid can get a car. No, you're co-signing saying that you will pay it and make sure it's paid every month. You're basically forced to babysit it. If you have a really good kid and super diligent, like your kids, Rachel, like,
I'm going to take this moment to do this.
Yeah, no, her kids are super diligent and on time and really responsible. Like I would co-sign for one of her kids.
They came that way.
Right. Wow. They came out of the womb that way. Yeah. I don't remember them like that when they were babies.
Well, they didn't have access to lines of credit then.
Right. But anyway, if you're co-signing for somebody, you're not like just helping them. You literally are obligating yourself to make sure that that is paid. So unless you trust that person beyond measure, and it sounds dumb because you're just like, it's just a car, it can absolutely trash your credit score.
I would almost say as a parent or co-borrower, I would be more comfortable, like just, I don't know what the word is, but I would just buy the car and they can buy it off me.
Yeah.
Before I would co-sign.
Yes. I would be like, okay, if you can't get that on your own, I'll get it in my name only and you pay me every month, or I'm just going to, yeah, exactly.
That way I have the control over how it's reporting on my credit report.
Yes. And I'm making sure it's paid every month. It's one thing to be mad at your kid because they didn't pay you the $300 they owe you for the car. It's another to watch your kid not pay the bank the $300 on time and watch your credit score fall.
You won't even find out.
Just tumble.
You won't even find out until you need to access your own credit and you won't qualify.
Or if you monitor it or are signed up for a monitoring service, you won't even have a clue that your kid defaulted.
So why does this list even exist? And this is like super common in our industry to see this list rolling around. Why do you suppose that is?
Because this is the most common shit people do, just living their lives, thinking nothing's different when they're buying a house. Everything's different when you're buying a house. You're under the greatest scrutiny you've ever been on, right? Under from a creditor standpoint, because you're trying to borrow the most money you've ever tried to borrow. And it's a really delicate balance. These are the top 10 things people do. I see these every month. One of these I see every single month, if not 2 or 3.
What are the top hitters?
New lines of credit, and moving money and cash. Those are really the top 2. Like, oh, I opened a credit card because they didn't think it was a big deal. They got $50 off, 10% off, whatever.
Kohl's, man, I'm telling you. Not only is it on clearance, triple markdown, I have Kohl's cash and percentage off, and they're going to give me more money off. It's like getting free stuff.
I know. Kohl's has built an empire of loyalty on their coupon loss leading program.
It's so frustrating.
The partnering with Amazon, I could just walk in and return something and they give me a $5 coupon to use that day. I would give it to somebody at checkout, but it's genius.
Can I ask one?
Yes, please.
All right. So with the 10 commandments, there is one that is greatest, love the Lord that got, so there is one of those. So this, I guess it's the opposite. You talked about the most common ones you see. What's the most damaging one you could do?
Good question.
Oh, quitting your job. Quitting your job's a hard no. There's no workaround for that. There's literally no workaround. I can't. I can't fix that. It's switching to a commission job. I can't switch that. I can't use any of your commission income. You've literally, even if you're working 80 hours a week, I can't use any of it because you need a 2-year history. So that radical type of job change is unrecoverable.
Even if it's the same industry, same job description, same company, different pay structure.
Yeah.
I went from a W-2'd salaried employee, hourly employee, whatever, and I've been doing that for 2 years. And then one day my company says, hey, here's this awesome comp plan. Awesome comp plan. We're going to pay you cash, whatever. We're going to, now you're just fucked yourself. Even though from your experience, and nothing changed except you're making more money.
Right. I think a lot of people go from W-2 to 1099 and it's a greater tax implication, but it means you have to file as self-employed. And I can't use any of that money because I don't have a history of seeing how you
file your taxes.
But that's the most damaging one.
Not even part of the 10 commandments, but that bears talking about briefly, which is the self-employed constant tactic of trying to show no income. Like we had a client historically who made shit tons of money and claimed zero income because they filed their taxes very creatively and then they couldn't buy a house because they showed no income.
Yeah. So there are more workarounds for that now. But I can't stress enough. It's a bank statement loan for self-employed people. They're going to look at 12 or 24 months of bank statements to figure out your income average, and your interest rate will be higher. Your down payment requirement will be higher. So I say this to people in mortgages, having your cake and eating it too. You can't claim no income and get the best rate. You're either paying the IRS or you're going to pay you're going to pay a non-qualified mortgage bank for giving you a loan based on your character, like it's 1940 or something. Not really, but it really is just based on your income that you put into your account. So again, don't start dealing in all cash and not put it in your bank, because even if you're getting that alternate loan, it won't count.
So yeah, it's almost like keep everything the same until after you close. That's literally it. Yeah. Nothing weird. I advise my clients that if you're going to do anything out of the ordinary over $100, talk to your loan officer first. Not after. Don't tell them you did it. Just fucking call them first.
Yes, this is not one of those instances where it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. Please, for the love, I know the way to structure what you want to do so that it can be presented and documented correctly, if it can be. I know how to work within the rules and the parameters. Just ask. Your loan officer knows. Just ask. We have the solution somewhere. Or can tell you if they're
just have to be able to stay inside of the box.
Yes. Play the game until you have the keys, and then I don't care what you do. Call and quit your job and go buy your $70,000 truck and go open your Kohl's card.
Finance all of your furniture right after closing. Pick it up with your new truck that you bought right after closing. After funding. Oh, we should do an episode about closing versus funding.
Oh, we can do that because we just had this issue Monday.
Versus funding. That deal is still hairy as fuck. Those people did not move out in time. There were police involved.
Seriously?
Dead serious. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
We can cut it because I do need to hear this story.
Okay. Well, we can't just cut it. So let's end.
Okay, we'll end. There's 10 commandments. You can Google 10 commandments of buying a home and find it. You don't even have to look at the link that is in our space. But
you should, because it's got a little cartoony Moses and he looks very serious.
I know. There's so many versions. This is just like the easiest one to read.
Don't do the bad things. Buy your house and then do whatever you want.
Yes.
Deal.
You'll stop being judged. All right, sweet. Thanks for joining us.
Yay.
Bye.
The info given is current as of this recording, but remember, the market changes and real estate is hyper local.